Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm going to be using Opentoonz Marevna. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the assistant tool. There's more features that I haven't covered with it yet. Evidently, it has more features than I initially thought, and generally, my previous video was just my initial reactions to it, and it's great that there's more features to it. I'm glad, because that makes this a full-featured tool in order for you to use perspective. You're able to do measurements and etc, etc, and that's great. So, for those of you that don't know what Opentoonz is the animation software that Studio Ghibli used. So, it made Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, pretty much every Studio Ghibli film, okay? And in order to download Opentoonz Marevna, you just go to Google and you type in Opentoonz Marevna download, okay? And it'll be the first link up at the top, and it's 100% free. It's a full-featured animation suite. It also made Futurama and Steven Universe. So just keep that in mind. You just click on the download link, just follow the prompts. It'll go ahead and email you the download and all that good stuff. And so there's a few things that I need to cover really quick here. My interface has just been customized, and if you guys decide to download it, you just need to go onto my channel, go to videos, and type in the search field right here, optimize. You type in that word, and at the top of the list, you'll see Opentoonz 1.2 is here, and on the title, you'll see, and how to optimize it 2017. This video is still very relevant, and that will get your interface to look more like mine. And also, not just that, it'll get Opentoonz to behave the way that it behaves on my screen. If you've never used Opentoonz before, watch this video, follow it like a tutorial. Also, this video that you're watching right now will also delve into curvilinear perspective. I've been waiting to make a video like this one for quite some time. If you don't know anything about curvilinear perspective, this right here, the curvilinear perspective playlist, is going to help you out. Also, if you would like to get more tutorials on how to use Opentoonz, this software that's on the screen right now, I have 49 videos all about how to use Opentoonz, and this is a good playlist here. Now, not all of these videos are mine, but they're great videos, and so I've gone ahead and collected them all and put them all together, and 49 videos, tutorials, Opentoonz. This is a good place to go, and I don't think very many people click on that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make a cube rotate. Now, most of the time, when people think of curvilinear perspective, they think of a circle, and they think of a vanishing point up top, a vanishing point at the bottom, a vanishing point to the right, and a vanishing point to the left, as well as a vanishing point in the center. And all of these vanishing points wind up merging with one another, except for the center. The center vanishing point winds up being completely straight. But the thing is that this circle represents 180 degrees, okay? So if we were to place another 180 degree circle to the left and to the right of this circle, we've just added 180 degrees more, okay? Because this would be an additional 90 degrees, and this would be an additional 90 degrees. That's 180 degrees. And then you would add half of a circle right here and half of a circle right here in order to have a fully operational 360 degree panoramic image that you could draw. So if you'd like to get more information about that, you can go ahead and watch my curvilinear perspective playlist. So let's go ahead and get into this, okay? The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my assistant tool, and I'm going to go ahead and just click, and I'll have a new assistant. Now, if you already have a bunch of columns in here, then what you can do is you can just click on any one of these three items here, and you can go ahead and click on assistant level in the type area, okay? But we're just going to keep this as simple as we can. So with the assistant tool, what we're going to do is we're going to go line, and we're just going to click once. And we're going to go ahead and align this with the edge of the paper so that it's as straight up and down as humanly possible. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make one really big ellipse, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and click on grid, and I'm just going to move these little grid sliders so I could see what's going on. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what restrict B does. Okay, that makes it vertical. Restrict A makes it horizontal. We want it to be horizontal. And the next thing that we want to do is click perspective and repeat, okay? And you can actually see these circles extending on for forever, presumably. And now I'm going to grab my assistant tool and try to make sure that these remain fairly horizontal. Awesome. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another ellipse, and I'm just going to click right here to the left of my original circle here. And I'm going to just go ahead and try to size it to about the same size. I'm going to go restrict A. I'm just going to try to just get this just to being about the same size. And I'm going to show grid and play around with the grid sliders, and I'm going to click perspective and repeat. Now that I have the repeat going on with the second assistant here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it on over so that its vanishing point meets up with the edge of the first assistant that I created. Alright, hopefully you're all still with me. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out quite a ways and just make sure that neither one of these winds up being a little bit skewed. You don't want one of these to go eventually all the way down here or to the corner of the screen or something. You want them to be nice and parallel with one another. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this to 24 frames. And on frame 1, I'm just going to move this on up so that the vanishing point is right at the top portion of the screen. So right here and right here. We have 2 vanishing points on the screen right now. So just using the assistant tool, I'm just going to move it on up. All right, that looks good. And then I'm going to go to frame 24 and I'm going to shift, click, and drag a good number of these out, okay? And let me go ahead and count how many vanishing points I have. Let me go ahead and see here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's probably a little bit too many vanishing points, but I do want to do something like that. That looks good to me. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and play the animation, and that you don't really see anything. But if we go ahead and just scroll through the animation using the arrow keys, you can actually see that we have an animated assistant going on here. And we have some spacing going on here. I'm just going to grab this arrow and move it all the way to the left, and grab this arrow and move it all the way to the right. Awesome. That looks great. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create a vector level, and I'm just going to click OK. I don't really care what this is called. And I'm going to pull out my brush, and I want this to be a 0-point sized series of lines. And I'm going to click on assistants to make sure that my lines are locked to the assistants. And I'm just going to draw out something. Let me go back to my assistant tool, because for some reason this is acting kind of odd. I'm going to click on perspective
with my line
and go parallel. All right, yeah, that looks like it's going to work a lot better. Let me go back to my vector level, and now I'm going to go ahead and draw out a rather large square. All right, cool. Now that I have that rather large square made, I'm going to pull out my brush again and turn off the assistant. Actually, I'm going to use the geometry tool and the polyline. I'm going to set the size of my brush to 0 because none of this is supposed to be visible to the camera. And I'm just going to draw an X, and I'm just going to curve it a bit as if it would fit in curvilinear perspective. And so now I feel as if I've found the center. And so I'm going to pull out my brush, make sure the assistant is turned on, and I'm just going to draw out center going both directions. Alright, and now I'm going to pull out the geometry tool once again, and I'm just going to make life simple for myself and just create an X up here and an X down here. And I'm going to pull out my brush, and I'm just going to mark where center is on either side of these 2 centers that I just found. Okay, so we found, just now, we found 1/4 on either side going both directions. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of these X's that I've created so that I just have a grid going on here. Now I'm going to pull out the geometry tool, and I'm just going to draw out an X on these border areas. Alright, excellent. So what we've gone ahead and created is what we need in order to find an ellipse. So I'm going to right click on this style up here and click on new style. double click it, and I'm just going to go ahead and make it a red color. And what we are looking for, let me pull out the brush and turn off the assistance. We are looking for where these X's that I just created intersect, okay? And where they intersect closest to the edge of this gigantic square that we've created here. And if it helps you to circle them, like I am now, in order to decipher what's going on, then go ahead and do that. Excellent. Okay, now, also what we are trying to pay attention to is right at the center. So we are going to mark the centers as well, right at the edge. And that will give us the perfect ellipse that we need, okay? So let's go ahead and draw out our ellipse. I'm just going to use the geometry tool, create a new style, double click, and I'm going to go ahead and color it a dark blue color. And I'm just going to just click and then click and drag. Oh, okay, one of my circles was wrong. One of my red circles is wrong. And then click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, and click and drag. And another one of my red circles was wrong. Okay, now I'm going to pull out the control point editor and select this blue getup that I've created here. I'm just going to go ahead and adjust some of these control points so that they line up just right. Let me go ahead and move some of these red circles just so that it helps you be able to see what it is that I'm paying attention to, okay? And again, I'm just trying to get this blue circle that I've created to meet up perfectly with all of these circles. Now, the assistant tool does have an ellipse in it, but my experience with dealing with the software ellipses has not been favorable. Okay, excellent. Now that I have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the black style, and I'm just going to, where it says A right here, that represents alpha, which means opacity. So I'm going to decrease the opacity of all of the black lines. And all of the red, I'm just going to select that style and delete it. And yes, delete lines and styles. All right, now that we have that accomplished, I'm going to name this vector level measurements. And I'm going to create a new vector level, and I'm going to call it rotating cube. All right, and I'm going to pull out my brush, turn on the assistance, and I want to have an actual size for these. So on the minimum thickness, I'm going to call it, I'm going to give it 0.5, and on the maximum thickness, 0.5. And I want this square that I'm going to create to be 1/4 of the size of this entire box that I've created, okay? So this is where center is right here. And I'm just going to draw a line that goes through the width and meets up with the edge of the ellipse. And then I'm going to draw a line that goes off towards the depth and meets up with that ellipse. And I'm going to call that good. I'm going to just go ahead and draw a cube from these three reference lines. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and go to frame 2. And now it can get really daunting and make you feel like, wow, what the heck am I going to do? Let's go ahead and turn on a permanent onion skin here. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to extend the measurements column all the way across. And now what we're going to do is this line right here, that vertical line, it is not going to do any motion throughout the entire animation. That's important for us to realize here. Okay, so this is our anchor. This is the thing that we're going to be paying attention to throughout the whole time. And that's going to start every single drawing. And then the other two lines that are going to be in the whole process of drawing this rotating cube are going to be meeting up with the edge of this ellipse that we created. Now, if it helps you to have the onion skin that is right before what you're currently working on, go ahead and do that, just as long as you can still see the very first frame. If you need to adjust your onion skins, go to Preferences, Onion Skins, and the paper thickness. Increase it or decrease it, it's up to you. I'm going to set it at 80%, and I'm going to see what that looks like. Okay, that looks like it'll do just fine. Okay, so 23 frames later, we can see that frame 24 will basically be a repeat of frame 21. So I'm just going to select frame 1, copy it, put it to the end of the animation, and press Control V, okay? And I'm gonna turn off my onion skins, and we're going to see
what I have wrought.
Alright, well that's moving pretty stinking fast, but that looks pretty smooth. So let me go ahead and see if I could slow it down a little bit. Let me select all of these and put it on 2s, and then press play.
Alright, so that's what I've created.
Let me, so that things don't get so disorienting, let me just extend this guideline all the way through here. And let's go ahead and press play once again. That looks pretty cool. I mean, it kind of gets you to appreciate 3D software. It took me a little while to be able to create this, and in that time, I could just within 1 second or less make the exact same effect inside of something like Blender or Maya. Just click, drag, done. That's all that you'd have to do with 3D software. But I'm not doing this so that I could use this specific idea inside of an animation. I could animate an entire scene around this whole idea, and I might just expand on this later on just to kind of demonstrate what I mean. But the primary goal that I have here with all of this isn't to make something that will be, I don't know, used inside of animations regularly or whatever. It's primarily to help me learn more about reality. That's the primary reason why I'm doing this, okay? I want a tool that I can use to animate shapes in order to help me understand reality. And we finally have it, and that is awesome. It's so cool. Well, not only that, but I could just draw out my backgrounds fully with the assistant tool as well, without having to necessarily go into Krita or anything like that. So anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell or go ahead and follow me on Twitter. A link is supplied in the video description below. And if you guys would like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.